Hey everyone, this is Sky, and I wanted to come on and speak about perhaps the most important installment in my 2018 transit series, which is this Saturn and Pluto retrograde happening in 2018 quite simultaneously and in sync with each other. Wow, everyone, this is such a big deal, and I've just really sat down and looked at the logistics of this transit, looked at the specific dates, and seen it all very clearly, and I really had a strong boost of energy, and I'm like, okay, I've got a lot to talk about here, because I really feel that this is the type of transit and the type of planetary symbiosis that changes the world and changes the times. And I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really happy to be catching onto this energy to help prepare those of you who are listening for the wave, like the tidal wave, or the land mass, I want to say, with them both being in Capricorn, sort of flying at our heads. So anyway, jokes aside, you can check the description box below to see the specific dates that this transit is in effect for both planets. But basically it's going to be strongest from like April 2018 to September of 2018, where both like Saturn and Pluto are retrograde in Capricorn. And my gosh, can we feel this energy coming in? Most people that I've been working with and speaking to are wearing this energy quite forwardly, or it's one of the first things that I'm seeing in people, I've realized, as I'm communicating, whether it be like spiritually or just like in day-to-day life. I see this more clearly than, for example, I'm seeing the Jupiter energy or the Mars energy coming in, or any of the other really strong inner planet stuff, or even perhaps the Uranus change into Taurus. Of course, that's been very potent for me as well. That's in the top right hand corner of this video if you're interested in Uranus or Jupiter stuff, which I've already done in the transit series. But I've seen this very clearly, and also very clearly in myself, because this energy of Saturn and Pluto being retrograde comes with such a solidification of reality, of what has been and what that's creating, and the sort of inescapability and loss of pervasion that seems to be very prevalent in recovering individuals right now. Everybody's kind of recovering from something right now. Everybody is healing. Whether you've sort of had the trauma recently, a long time ago, I feel that we've all come into May and June realizing that something is not right, something is amiss. This, for a lot of you, may be coming out in health, because Saturn and Pluto are in Capricorn, which deals with real things, tangible things. So perhaps what needs healing is less emotional or less spiritual, but more physical. I do think that this is an important time to check in on your body and to check in on your health, because it's really first and foremost. Oftentimes, I think that emotional traumas develop due to things which are going on in the body to try to signal us inwards, to try to signal us away from more like vapid experiences of life, because perhaps there's something more serious going on within and internally. And it's an interesting interplay that emotions and spiritual experiences have with physical outcomes in the body. And it's sort of like a chicken or the egg type of thing, where it's like, okay, did the physical problem come first, or did the emotional problem come first? It's not so important, but solving both of the issues or seeing things from both perspectives does seem to contribute to a long-term healing process right now. So it's a good time to start seeing, it's a good time to start realizing what has been a negative habit or what has contributed to any type of difficult circumstance you're in. Because this Saturn and Pluto retrograde is going to cast a very strong spotlight and microscope onto the past and real things from the past. This isn't really a period of time from like April to September where you have had a difficult experience per se, and you can think, well, I can attribute that to this sort of imperceptible thing that's not really real, to kind of escape it. This is basically a transit, for lack of better words, where you have to see what's real and what really happened. This isn't like sparkles and unicorns about some like escapist mentality of how to like, you know, manifest myself out of a difficult situation and ignore all the problems. This is a thing where like all the knots, like the energetic knots, become more taut and can snap if you're not working to untangle them. So that's the image that I keep saying are knots that have been wound really tightly and take like a lot of focus and concentration and dexterity to start to unwind, rather than turning your head and sort of like blindly unraveling something and thinking, yeah, it's good not to look at this because that's what feels right. You have to be able to see things and see things real right now. And before I get too much deeper into the more abstract channeling, I'm going to talk just a little bit about the nature of Saturn and Pluto, and what they are when they're retrograde, some of the more traditional meanings, and that will be applicable to your experience hopefully as well. So I'm going to start with Saturn. Since it's closer to us. Saturn, of course, obviously, traditionally is the planet. It's a fatherly, patriarchal figure, but it actually just rules any type of like powerful hierarchy. It can be patriarchal and matriarchal. It is the 10th house and obviously is at home in Capricorn, exalted in Libra. So it deals with any type of power structures, hierarchies, anything which ties things together and constrains things, which we tend to think of in a negative way, but it's actually very good. Without form, without constraint, there would be no form, there would be no format, there would be no predictability, no types of even ability to heal as well. Because for me, like when I'm working with people, like one-on-one, for example, in any type of healing, the first thing to do is to create a format. Like if you've broken a bone, you've got to cast it. Things don't heal if you don't create some type of shape or mold for them to be a bit constrained. There has to be some type of hold in this reality to have healing or to have progression. So, it can definitely be overdone, like in a controlling relationship where somebody is controlling somebody and, trying to mold them in a way that is unfair. That's definitely an example when Saturn energy is not used right, or in like power hierarchy, like in the elite statuses, things like that, like in control of smaller people. That's another thing where it tends to go awry, which is another big thing in this transit, but I'm not going to get there quite yet. And it also is very connected to the disciplinary parent. This can be either the mother or the father or both, whichever parent was more controlling is the Saturnian parent. And anything that deals with like the enforcement of the law and control statuses, so any type of law-related justice, court, police type of, or even army or military experiences have connections to Saturn as well. Also, like the immune system of the body is very connected to Saturn. So it's definitely a planet that is very important for safety and for control. And like our skin, for example, is ruled by Saturn. Like it keeps our body in place. Like without Saturn ideas, our organs would just like fall out and not have any shape. So definitely think about your skin right now. Does my skin feel healthy? That's going to be very telling. And try to get creative with that. Like when you think of what's holding things together in your life, or what is constraining things, what comes to your mind? That's going to be a very Saturnian aspect of your life. And once you've sort of developed that, like what does it mean when that's retrograde, when that goes backwards? So when power structures start to it's not necessarily good or bad, because with this type of energy, you can see a power structure become more fair. So, for example, like an abusive spouse or a ruling class that is overusing its power, you can see them rethink that, and you can see them think, okay, yeah, that's not the good use of this power. I've got to work on this. But you can also see them go the opposite direction with that, or start to analyze their power and realize what exactly they are capable of. So who's powerful in your life? Who has a lot of power? That's very related to Pluto as well. But when Saturn is retrograde, regardless of sign, it's all about power reanalyzing itself and control reanalyzing itself and thinking what its scope is. Anything that has a hold, anything that ties together, starts to rewind itself and re-implement itself. And now thinking of Pluto, obviously the ruler of Scorpio, sex, death, rebirth energies, and the human thrust of life, that desire to rise from the ashes, and also bursting in flames. The whole phoenix cycle is a Plutonian ideal. And then also power structures just like Saturn. It's also sort of a patriarchal energy, and a father. Yeah, I'm not going to say it's more patriarchal than matriarchal. It doesn't really matter. Pluto is very oriented towards a type of control and power that is not so physical. So Saturn is this physical power. Like, I have resources, I have positions, I have titles, therefore I am powerful. Whereas Pluto is more of an untitled, not lacking in resources, because Pluto can be very resourceful as well, but it's a power that comes without tangible resource. And of course, if there's like a Saturn connection, it only grows in strength when it gets that resource as well. But it is just the human drive and the human purpose energy, no doubt. So when Pluto goes retrograde, you can see yourself rethinking, like, what is my purpose? Where is my drive? Where are my energy sources in life? Energy sources are so accentuated and emphasized with this transit for sure, because you're rethinking it. You're rethinking, where am I getting my energy from? Who am I getting my energy from? Who's getting the energy from me? What am I giving my energy away to? And how can I make this more optimized? And of course, Pluto is the most transformative planet in the solar system as well. So when it goes retrograde, you can start to think, I can't pervade this. I can't get out of this situation. I am trapped. I can't transform. Or you may even come into a place where you're like, that wasn't the right time to transform. Like, you can see your transformations of the past in a new light and see how it's not what you thought it was then. Also, connections to people who have really changed your life. So people who have been catalysts of transformation in your life, this can become reactivated. These people can come back in for a short period of time here. Not for everyone will they come back in, but you're going to be thinking about what that actually meant to you, or learning how to utilize that energy in a new way. It's sort of also about like breaking away from the catalysts and understanding that that energy is within you. I definitely have seen a lot of people with this Pluto retrograde coming in who were really struggling with needing somebody else to catalyze them, or needing like the relationship to experience nice experiences of life. So like, learn to smell the rain or learn to smell the coffee without having that person in your life is a big key of Pluto retrograde. I've seen a lot of people that need to have a certain thing or person in order to enjoy life. So it's about removing that excess and about removing that foliage, and learning that that ability to enjoy or thrive is not predicated on the presence of other people, goals, objectives, or wealth or resources. Because, and to go ahead and start to get into like the symbiosis of these two planets, now that I've talked about a little bit about Saturn and Pluto individually, you can really see people get what they've wanted with this transit, and understand that it wasn't about that, but it was about triggering that desire, or about triggering like, okay, I think that I want this, or I want this person, that's what's going to make me happy, and I won't be happy till I get it. Then you get it and it's not what you expected it to be. Lots of that type of thing going on during this transit. And we also have to remember that Saturn and Pluto are considered malefic energies traditionally. They are not the most stereotypically positive or healthy, nice, soft energies like a Venus or a Jupiter, for example. Saturn and Mars are the traditional malefics, but I believe that you can definitely add Pluto into that mix. And that's why this isn't really a soft and fluffy type of channeling, although there are some incredible benefits to get from this energy, because it's through the self-mastery or aspects of self-mastery that come from these types of harder energies that really levels up your filter for experiences that make you thrive. And this is a rare transit. This doesn't happen very often, especially for Saturn and Pluto to be in the same sign and being retrograde at the same time. And I believe in 2019, there's actually going to be another version of this that is even more exact, where they're closer in degree in Capricorn. But it's just a very rare energy that doesn't make concessions for many, I feel. To get into the more channeling-oriented aspect of this video, I feel that so many things hit a breaking point with this energy. Things that have been on the edge for a long time, or things that have sort of been flirting with the line, or flirting with like that breaking point, get that push here, or get that catalysion, as I like to call it, especially with Uranus having changed sign and Mars getting involved with this, going retrograde in Capricorn as well. Well, it'll be in Aquarius, but it'll go back into Capricorn at the end of June. So we have Uranus and Mars, which are catalyst energies and push energies, with these like time energies, like Saturn and Pluto and these long-term power structure energies. So the first thing that comes to my mind is big shifts in power structure, big shifts in hierarchy. And it may just get a breath of life here. It may not come into effect, or you might not see... Well, I think you're going to see with the Jupiter retrograde as well in Scorpio, a lot of big scandals come to light in power structures. I think that's very simple, and I'm not going to make specific predictions because I don't believe that that has much use in public formats such as YouTube, but I definitely think that this is not a good time to have secrets that relate to having caused harm to many people, or being very powerful, or being very omnipotent, all-present, godly type of individuals who feel untouchable or feel that there are no consequences, who do bad things will see that karmic aftermath for sure. And this doesn't even just have to do with ruling class or people who are like seemingly godly to other people. This just pretty much has to do with anybody who has wielded a large amount of power, and this can just be in relationships. It's power over one or more people in a very negative or disastrous, traumatic way. So I do feel that this is a good time to repent, or I feel that this is a good time to apologize to those who you or we have treated unjustly with our power. It's a very rewarding time to be in that role, because it's almost impossible to manifest into the human condition without having misused power or without misusing power, because the thing about powerful experiences and scenarios is that they sometimes don't make themselves clear until after it's been misused or after there's been a consequence. So this isn't really even a matter of extremely antagonistic people just causing harm for fun. It's not really that. It's more of things that have gone very awry over a long period of time that only really make themselves clear once it's too late. And the nature of Saturn and Pluto are that doesn't matter. It's about like early detection and realizing things before the power swings or before things go way out of control. So having said that, I think that there will be changes in government or changes in ruling class. That is just a prediction that I have right now, globally. A global type of change in ruling standards, ruling classes, experiences such as that you can definitely see come in here. And I don't feel it to necessarily be good, bad, or indifferent. I feel it to be inevitable. And beyond just ruling classes, I feel a complete class shift in general. Like all levels of hierarchy can be muddled, blurred, and changed with this energy, especially with a Uranus shift for sure. And things can maintain. Saturn is all about maintenance and sustaining traditional values. And this isn't really about bashing systems. It's just about the astrological connection that marks itself, and you can definitely see in the past in like changes of status and changes of systems like this are very connected to Saturn and Pluto. So it's just a potentiality that can come forth here. It is also a strong case for debts, insurances, any type of financial stick-with-itness or financial stick. Like I just sense like a financial thing that doesn't really shift is very emphasized here and can collapse on itself. So I definitely sense economic crashes or economic surpluses as well, just big changes that stick. So like housing bubble types of things, and this could be very connected into those changes in power. Perhaps even medical systems within countries can start to shift now as well. It does feels like something that's very connected into individuals, less so than money. It's more about people. So it's either like personal people's money or it's their health, and that's connecting into ruling elites, and that's what is kind of coming forward. I'm not really a conspiracy person. I'm not really somebody who dials into that type of thing. That's not what this video is about. This video is about scandalous things. Like, it's a scandalous type of energy that is much easier to fly right now. So prepare for that, and prepare to not try too hard to cover things up. That's an important aspect of this transit. When things get very covered up with Saturn and Pluto, that becomes the problem. It's like people stop caring that something bad was done. They start caring that somebody tried to cover it up, and it seems very suspicious. So it's important to let things fly. It's important to be honest with things, and it's important to allow things to come up, because people are very willing to forgive and very willing to take the high road if people are real and like renounce what it is. Whereas if people like try desperately to use their power to be that perfect, pure, innocent guideline, then people can get upset about that versus the actual problem. So think about that, and think about that in general relationships too, and personal relationships. It's like when you try really hard to cover things up, or if you have like cheated, or if you've been cheated on and you're like trying to deny that, or trying to cover it up, that becomes more of the problem than the actual cheating itself. Not that cheating is a problem. It's kind of difficult territory when these two energies come together like this. I wouldn't try hard to cover things up, and I wouldn't try to keep secrets. I wouldn't try to use power unresponsibly right now, because it's very tied to loss, for sure. There is a lot of power in honesty in this transit. A lot of power in being clean and trying to emulate that standard, not trying to fake that standard. So that's really the catch-22 of this energy. Is it's a good time for honesty, and it's a good time for wearing your heart on your sleeve, as long as that doesn't become a ploy to gain something and re-empower this sort of cycle of, back and forth, fake, real, fake, pure, blah, blah, blah. Getting more personal, though, again, with this transit, you have to so much think about your energy sources, and I've been on this for a long time on my channel, because I've realized that with about the time that Jupiter went retrograde in Scorpio, is that there's an issue for many people with where the energy is coming from. Like, how do I get my daily energy to do my tasks, to have purpose? If you've been curious about your purpose, you're like, I don't know what my purpose is, I don't know what I want to do with my life. It's because there's a problem with the energy source, and that's going to be more exposed with this transit, which can feel painful in the moment, but in reality is a huge blessing, because through identifying the problem area, you can begin to mend it. So by around July, we're going to see ourselves wanting to mend something, or wanting to fix something very clearly, as May and June feel more like the identification process of said problems. July feels like mending, and August and September feel like what's the word? They feel like a testing period or a trial period of a new system. So on any type of mundane or macrocosmic or microcosmic level, new systems in place by September that feel good, feels nice. July, Jupiter goes direct, and it finishes up any type of retrograde cycle in Scorpio. But at the end of June, Mars goes retrograde, so we will have that period of time, June 26th to July 10th. I'll probably make a specific video about that when we're closer to time. But that's probably the most important week of this year, that June 26th through July 10th. So really pay attention to that time period, and think about what you're doing then, and if that's right for you, because it's going to be important to see things from behind, like having eyes in the back of your head during that time. And ultimately, this energy of Saturn and Pluto kind of economizes us. It makes us sort of let go of unnecessary things, untie old knots of the past to create a more smoother internal environment, and let go of excess. There is a strong letting go that has to happen. A lot of my videos lately have dealt with that. A lot of people's videos, I'm sure, have dealt with the whole concept of letting go, because with so much Scorpio and Capricorn energy emphasized right now, it's all about weight, and it's all about sort of dismissing that and realizing that through perhaps even letting go of a little bit of power, you can actually become much more real and much more satisfied with your experience, as shocking as that might sound to many. Because what's one of the strongest things that comes up to sort of top off this video is mortality. Saturn and Pluto both deal with mortality and deal with permanence and impermanence. So we're thinking about, why am I here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why has power taken the shape that it has in my life in whatever way? What does that really give to me in the long run? And have I lost sight of what I can really do here? And is that really what's contributing to the crises, or the crises that have formed and manifested into my life? So lots of damage control, lots of breaking points, lots of edges come up here that are so important, and so leading to an experience of life that can be such a sigh of relief and such a powerful exhale into a form of being that is much more permanent than power, and much more permanent than experiences triggered by the catalyst of other people in your life, as sort of a lens to see your own happiness. So it's kind of deep, it's kind of soft in a way too, but that's exactly what these planets are. They're rough shells with very soft interiors that guard very soft things. So find your softness during this transit from April to September. Find your power structure and rethink that. Rethink, is this right for me? Think about me. Think about yourself. It might sound like narcissistic, but this is a great time to think about you and to think about how you can be in a much more wholesome and protected way. So I hope that I haven't stepped on any toes with this video. That's very easy right now during this time too, to be very sensitive to medias or things that come out. So try to think about that sensitivity and try to think about where you're seeing yourself. Watch the Jupiter retrograde video and also the Uranus and Taurus or just the Uranus and Taurus video that is in my transit series as well. I'll try to put that up on the screen here, but your subscribes make my day. I'm so appreciative to have you all subscribing to my channel and to have this growth. Your likes and comments mean the world to me, and you can click the center of your screen to check out ways to support my channel. But anyway, everyone, oh my gosh, let's get through this energy. Check the description box for the logistical details of all of this. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, all of that, and we will be talking soon. Much love. Bye.